Okay, hello and welcome to our Extended Disc Spring webinar series. Today we are going to be talking about something that's in our extended disc assessments, and that is the comfort zones. You've probably seen them on the diamonds, and we get questions on how do we explain it, or sometimes people may not even know or just ignore it. So we're going to give you a very quick introduction to how to explain comfort zones on the extended disc diamond. My name is Christina, and I'm the training director here at Extended Disc. And with me today is my colleague, Markku Kauppanen, president of Extended Disc.
Hi, Christina, and hi, everybody. What a beautiful day is it today, isn't it?
It is. I haven't been outside, but I'm sure it is. We are recording this in case you want to follow up or share it later. As always, questions, we encourage them. However, we don't take them live. We'll answer them after the session. So, here is the profiles that you guys are used to seeing, and you guys are probably used to hearing us talk about, how the profiles show up on the diamond, meaning the start or the dot on the disc diamond represents the person's natural hardwired style. And whichever quadrant that dot is located in, and in this example, you see Stephen, he's located in the D quadrant, we know he's a dominant D.
Yeah, that's right. And I think the comment we get all the time is that profiles certainly give us the most specific identification of somebody's style. And as you remember, Christina, we always talk about that if you really want to understand who the person is, whether it's for my self-awareness or if I want to understand other person, let's say my employee, I really need to look at the relationship among all four disc styles. And the profiles will always give you the most specific interpretation. And there's other things we talked about, underlying feelings, etc., that we can draw from those profiles. However, diamond shows a different way to understand who we are, and some people clearly prefer the diamond as a way to understand not only our adjusted style, like you said, the starting point of the arrow, but also what kind of adjustments we need to make. And I think the power of the diamond really comes into play when we start looking at things like comfort zones. What are our most comfortable behaviors? And I'm very glad, Christina, that you picked this topic, because sometimes I overlook it and take it for granted, but a lot of people do ask about this. And then we can tie it, of course, to work, pair, and team assessments as well, and even analyzing entire organization.
So, of course, as we have webinars that if you need to kind of get a refresher on the profiles, you can go back to our extendeddisc.org site, and we're just offering you a different way to interpret the disc profiles, as Markku said.
Well, Christina, you talk about the comfort zones a lot more than I do, because you do training every day. I occasionally kind of dabble in training, and training is not really my expertise. How do you explain the comfort zones? What kind of approach you take to help people understand what it really means?
Yeah, I mean, when we look at these comfort zones, it just means that we're not just a dot on the diamond, that we have the ability to flex our behavioral style, as Markku says, all day long without any additional energy. So a very simplistic way that we look at this is by looking at whichever part of the diamond that is shaded. And at this point, don't even worry about the color of the shading. It just means that those are disc styles that you can adjust to with minimal energy all day long. I always say, given the situation, given the pressures from the environment, you can shift to these styles within your comfort zone. And when the environment no longer applies that pressure, you naturally go back to your current natural style.
Yeah, what I like about this is that it's part of our vocabulary. We talk about we need to get out of our comfort zone. And really the good thing to remember is that don't overcomplicate this part of the report if you choose to include it in your tailored assessments. We're really talking about what behaviors in terms of the disc styles are most comfortable to you. And for this individual, clearly the D and I style are more comfortable. But if they want to modify their behavior, which they should, and that's always our goal, the S and C behavioral styles, for example, be more a little bit slow down a little bit, that S style being a team player, really consider others, that's S behaviors, or be more analytical, the details, etc. Those kind of behaviors will require more energy. And this is the visual representation of what that looks like. What's your comfort zone and what's not?
Right.
That's it.
And again, we can take it to a more specific level where you can see that there are actually four levels to your comfort zone. So there's within your comfort zone, you have your current zone, which is your natural style. And then you have your natural flex areas, which are represented by the kind of the darker gray shadings. Those are the styles that really are very easy for you to shift to all day long. And then you have also the easiest development zones, which are the lighter gray areas. And sometimes that needs just kind of a conscious prompt or conscious adjustment on your part, but typically does not take much energy. And then you have the most difficult development zone, which are the distyles in the areas of white, and those tend to take the most energy. And obviously, the furthest from your natural or current zone, the more energy it takes. I have an analogy which I like to use in my trainings or when I'm actually doing a workshop, and I find that it's very effective for people because they just seem to get it when I talk about it. So I'm going to share it with you guys today. So what you saw before was that diamond, and I broke down the different zones of the diamond. So the very first one is the current zone, which is that pink zone. It represents this person's natural style. And if you think about yourself as kind of think of the pink zone or the current zone as your home, and when you're in your home, you typically are your most comfortable self. You're basically who you are.
That's a safe area, basically.
Exactly.
Spoken like a true style there.
So then you move on to the natural flex zone. And I always say, think of the natural flex zone as your neighborhood. Again, you know your way around, you're very comfortable, it's familiar. Same thing goes for these styles that are within your natural flex zones. These are styles that are very comfortable to you, may not be your natural style, but typically doesn't take much energy for you to adjust to.
So we're getting out of our home and take maybe our dog for a walk, still comfortable surroundings.
Still
we know
comfortable.
Most of our neighbors, hopefully.
Yeah, some we like, some we don't.
That's right.
So then the next step is that easiest development zone, and that's represented by the lighter gray shading. And I always say it's like your section of town. You're still fairly familiar. You have your familiar routes. You know which way to go. And lo and behold, the donut lover that I am, I just found out they opened a new donut shop, down the street. But I just can't remember exactly where it is on the street. But I have a vague idea. So same thing goes with these styles. You have a familiarity. It probably doesn't take too much energy for you to adjust. But you do have to put a little bit of effort into it.
So we see familiar faces, but we don't know the names. We still feel pretty comfortable, but not as comfortable as at our home.
Exactly.
And not as comfortable as our neighborhood.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense.
All right. And so then the last zone, the way I like to describe what we call the most difficult development zone, is these are the distyles that are contained in the area of white. And the one thing I want to mention before I talk about this is it's not about ability, as Mark said earlier. You absolutely could, for this person who is a DI, you could rock the S style. You could adjust to the C style. It just simply takes more energy. So the analogy I like to give is like, for instance, think about yourself. Well, for me, let's just talk about, it's all about me today. So let's talk about me going to Houston. I am a suburban gal. I live in the Woodlands. I live in my bubble, and I'm supposed to go downtown and get my visa to go travel. I'm going to go on a trip.
So we live about 40 miles north of Houston, just to give people context.
So plug it into my GPS, stick that, GPS on, start driving, and anyone that knows me or anyone sitting in my car will know that I will get lost because for some reason, I don't think that the exit's coming up fast enough, whatever. I just, I make it there. I'm a little bit stressed because I'm outside my bubble. I find it, I just say, hey, I'm going to have a great lunch. Actually have a good time in downtown Houston. Get back in my car, drive, look at that Woodlands exit and go, whoo, yeah, back in the bubble. It's almost like have you guys ever just kind of let out that, just that breath of like when you walk in the door from like a hard day where you had to do a lot of adjustments, it just drains your energy.
Yeah, that's a perfect analogy because a couple of ways. One is that let's say you go to a restaurant in Houston, you have to find your way. But so first time you do it, you're really paying attention. You're not quite sure exactly where to go, and you don't even know what to expect. Maybe you went to the website, you have pictures of what the restaurant looks like. But when you go there for a second or third time, it becomes more comfortable. And the very same is true when we are modifying a behavior. When we make that adjustment for the first time, it's the most challenging. But when we continue to get out of our comfort zone with practice, reinforcement, and experience, it gets easier and easier. And also what happens is, like, I think we have a picture of Kuala Lumpur there. I'm thinking, so I've been there once.
He outed me. I thought I was just picking a city.
But it's a perfect example because, like, when I travel with work, when I go to new cities and new countries, new cities, I really want to prepare a little bit more about, hey, what kind of currency they use, both money-wise and electrical, and kind of try to learn a little bit more about, hey, how safe it is and what should you do and should not do. So if I prepare for that trip, I'm going to be more comfortable doing it. So the same thing happens with behavioral modification. If we really want to be very good at it, we should prepare, especially when it's a brand new situation. So I really love this analogy.
So really, in the end, it's to understand the distyles, or as we said earlier, your comfort zone. And, we operate very comfortably within our comfort zone. And when we are outside of our comfort zone, it just takes more energy. However, as Markku says, if we practice it, it doesn't drain our energy as much. And if we prepare for it, same thing goes.
It never be a home or a neighborhood, but it becomes more comfortable because it does take energy. Even if you've been to a strange town or to a restaurant in downtown Houston, you're still going to be more conscious about everything you do, how you drive. Like when you drive in your neighborhood, you really don't even think about driving, right, unfortunately. But when you are driving somewhere else, you are more conscious about what's happening. Same thing happens with behaviors. And if we don't do that, we are likely to get lost. We have a little fender bender. So we really need to pay attention and realize and understand and anticipate that it's going to be a little bit more challenging. But when you do those things and are conscious about it, are present, you are able to do it, and typically you can be very good at it.
Great. So we just wanted to show you, as we said, one of the things our clients love about the Extended tool is that they have lots of options. They're not locked into one way of identifying. And we just wanted to show you how you can also use the comfort zones to describe not just one individual, but a group of people.
Yeah, we're not going to focus on teams, but I'm glad you brought this example because the nice thing about the diamond is that it's really the centerpiece of all of the assessments. So when you go from individual application, whether it's leadership development, sales training, or one-on-one coaching, and so on, you always have the same model as the core. So when you're going from one tool to the next and different applications to another, you don't have to learn new framework. You can use the same framework, and it's the core model that makes it simple to use in these different applications.
Excellent. So what you guys came to this webinar for today, I just wanted to kind of revisit it and summarize it. So how do we debrief this comfort zone map to our clients, to our participants? Remember, your comfort zone is based on your natural style, your profile too. And what that is it's your preferred way of doing things, your preferred behavioral style. It's the behaviors that take the least amount of energy from you. And when you're within your comfort zone, which is the entire shading on the shaded areas on the diamond, those are the styles that you tend to flex to all day long without any additional energy. However, we do say you tend not to prefer to stay there. Once the external pressures are no longer present, you prefer to go back to your natural style, your current zone. And anything that is outside of your comfort zone, typically those are the distyles that will take more energy and focus from you. And the further you are away from your natural style, the more energy and effort it takes.
Yeah, there's really no reason to overcomplicate it. Look what the shadings are. Those are the behaviors that you really master. That's your area of strength. Mm-hmm. Just make sure you don't get stuck in your comfort zone. This visually shows what you need to do in order to become more successful. When you go to those white areas, like you said, farther you go, more energy is going to take. But it's something we can practice, and we can go to those different cities and different countries with more confidence and more expertise. So I think it's a great way to understand what this really means. No need to, like I said, overcomplicate it.
Exactly. Well, hopefully that helps you be able to explain it to your clients. We have another webinar coming up.
Yeah, next week, May 22nd at 3 p.m. Central Time, another 15 minutes mini webinar, continue our spring series. We're going to talk about What happens if the respondent does not agree with the results? I always say this, that denial is a strong human emotion. And when we're reading about ourselves, especially when it comes to development areas or when we're overusing our strength, sometimes individuals may have a little pushback, and we're going to talk about how to deal with those situations. And we're going to the Washington, D.C. We have a ATD conference coming up. It starts on Monday morning, Monday, Tuesday, and I think it goes about mid-afternoon on Wednesday. It's our 22nd year to be exhibiting there, so stop by our booth, 1009, say hello to us, and there's always a chance to win that money in that money jar. So I'm going to give you a hint. If you win the money, you're going to get a 1099 from us. So come stop by and take a guess, and hopefully you're the winner.
And if you want to find out about our webinar coming up or any of our future webinars, check our extendeddis.org website under the events tab. Everyone have a great day. Thank you, Marku.
Thank you, Christina.